audiobook of science for class 6 entitled Science 1. This is the lesson 14. Title: Water. Page 141. 14.4. Back to the oceans. What happens to the water that rain and snow bring to different regions of Earth? Almost all land surfaces are above the level of oceans. Most of the water that falls on the land as rain and snow sooner or later goes back to the oceans. This happens in many ways. Snow in the mountains melts into water. This water flows down the mountains in the form of streams and rivers. Figure 14.8. Some of the water that falls on land as rain also flows in the form of rivers and streams. Most of the rivers cover long distances on land and ultimately fall into a sea or an ocean. However, water of some rivers flows into lakes. The rainwater also fills up the lakes and ponds. A part of the rainwater gets absorbed by the ground and seems to disappear in the soil. Some of this water is brought back to the air by the process of evaporation and transpiration. The rest seeps into the ground. Most of this water becomes available to us as groundwater. Open wells are fed by groundwater. Groundwater is the source for many lakes as well. It is also this groundwater which is drawn by a hand pump or a tube well. The more hand pumps or tube wells that are used in an area, the deeper we need to dig to find this groundwater. The loss in the level of groundwater due to overuse is worrisome. Paheli wants to share a concern with you. In those areas where the land has little or no vegetation, the rainwater flows away quickly. Flowing rainwater also takes the top layer of the soil away with it. There are few areas where most of the land is covered with concrete. This reduces the seepage of rainwater into the ground, which ultimately affects the availability of groundwater. Figure 14.8 shows page 142. We now know that water brought back to the surface of the earth by rain, hail or snow goes back to oceans. Thus, water from the ocean and surface of the earth goes into air as vapor, returns as rain, hail or snow, and finally goes back to the oceans. The circulation of water in this manner is known as the water cycle. Figure 14.9. This circulation of water between ocean and land is a continuous process. This maintains the supply of water on land. (14.5) What if it rains heavily? The time, duration, and the amount of rainfall varies from place to place. In some parts of the world, it rains throughout the year, while there are places where it rains only for a few days. In our country, most of the rainfall occurs during the monsoon season. Rains bring relief, especially after hot summer days. The sowing of many crops depends on the arrival of monsoon. However, excess of rainfall may lead to many problems. Figure 14.10. Page 143. Heavy rains may lead to rise in the level of water in rivers, lakes and ponds. The water may then spread over large areas, causing floods. The crop fields, forests, villages and cities may get submerged by water. Figure 14.11. In our country, floods cause extensive damage to crops, domestic animals, property and human life. During floods, the animals living in the water also get carried away with the waters. They often get trapped on land areas and die when flood water recedes. Rains also affect the animals living in the soil. (14.6) What happens if it does not rain for a long period? Can you imagine what would happen if it does not rain in a region for a year or more? The soil continues to lose water by evaporation and transpiration. Since it is not being brought back by rain, the soil becomes dry. The level of water in ponds and wells of the region goes down. And some of them may even dry up. The groundwater may also become scarce. This may lead to drought. In drought conditions, it is difficult to get food and fodder. You might have heard about droughts occurring in some parts of our country or the world. Are you aware of the difficulties faced by the people living in these areas? What happens to the animals and the vegetation in these conditions? Try and find out about this by talking to your parents and neighbors and by reading about it from newspapers and magazines. 14.7. How can we conserve water? Only a small fraction of water available on the earth is fit for use of plants, animals, and humans. Most of the water is in the oceans and it cannot be used directly. When the level of the groundwater decreases drastically, this cannot be used anymore. The total amount of water on earth remains the same, but the water available for use is very limited and is decreasing with overusage. The demand for water is increasing day by day. The number of people using water is increasing with rising population. In many cities, long queues for collection of water are a common sight. Figure 14.12. Also, more and more water is being used for producing food and by the industries. These factories are leading to shortage of water in many parts of the world. Page 144. Hence, it is very important that water is used carefully. We should take care not to waste water. 14.8. Rainwater harvesting. One way of increasing the availability of water is to collect rainwater and store it for later use. Collecting rainwater in this way is called rainwater harvesting. The basic idea behind rainwater harvesting is catch water where it falls. What happens to the rainwater that falls in places that are mostly covered with concrete roads and buildings? It flows into the drains, isn't it? From there, water goes to rivers or lakes, which could be far away. A lot of effort will then be required to get this water back into our homes as the water did not seep into the ground. Here, two techniques of rainwater harvesting are discussed. 1. Rooftop rainwater harvesting. In this system, the rainwater is collected from the rooftop to a storage tank through pipes. This water may contain soil from the roof and need filtering before it is used. Instead of collecting rainwater in the tank, the pipes can go directly into a pit in the ground. This then seeps into the soil to recharge or refill the groundwater. Figure 14.13. 2. Another option is to allow water to go into the ground directly from the roadside drains that collect rainwater. Keywords: clouds, condensation, drought, evaporation, flood, groundwater, hail, ocean, rainwater harvesting, snow, water vapor, water cycle. Page 145. Summary. Water is essential for life. Water vapor gets added to air by evaporation and transpiration. The water vapor in the air condenses to form tiny droplets of water, which appear as clouds. Many tiny water droplets come together and fall down as rain, snow, or hail. Rain, hail, and snow replenish water in rivers, lakes, ponds, wells, and soil. The circulation of water between ocean and land is known as the water cycle. Excessive rains may cause floods, while lack of it for long periods may cause droughts. The amount of usable water on Earth is limited, so it needs to be used carefully. Exercises. 1. Fill up the blanks which are given here. A. The process of changing of water into its vapor is called blank. B. The process of changing water vapor into water is called blank. C. No rainfall for a year or more may lead to blank in that region. D. Excessive rains may cause blank. 2. Here are some sentences given. State whether these are due to evaporation or condensation. A. Water drops appear on the outer surface of a glass containing cold water. B. Steam rising from wet clothes while they are ironed. C. Fog appearing on a cold winter morning. D. Blackboard dries up after wiping it. E. Steam rising from a hot girdle when water is sprinkled on it. Three. There are some statements. State whether these are true or not. A. Water vapor is present in air only during the monsoon. B. Water evaporates into air from oceans, rivers, and lakes, but not from the soil. C. The process of water changing into its vapor is called evaporation. D. The evaporation of water takes place only in sunlight. E. Water vapor condenses to form tiny droplets of water in the upper layers of air where it is cooler. Page 146. 4. Suppose you want to dry your school uniform quickly. Would spreading it near an angeeti or heater help? If yes, how? 5. Take out a cooled bottle of water from refrigerator and keep it on a table. After some time, you notice a droplets of water around it. Why? 6. To clean their spectacles, people often breathe out on glasses to make them wet. Explain why the glasses become wet. 7. How are clouds formed? 8. When does a drought occur? Suggested projects and activities. 1. List 3 activities in which you can save water. For each activity, describe how you would do it. 2. Collect pictures relating to floods or droughts from old magazines or newspapers. Paste them in your notebook and write about the problems that people would have faced. 3. Prepare a poster on ways of saving water and display it on your school notice board. 4. Write a few slogans of your own on the topic Save Water. 5. Can the interlinking of rivers be a solution for mitigation of flood? Discuss.